2 o'clock. We've got the Mariner Hybrid up on the hoist. We're going to replace the transfer case today. Hopefully everything goes well. First step is to remove the front wheel, then the front half shaft assembly from the passenger side, removing the front axle nut, the bottom steering knuckle connector, and pulling the half shaft out after we remove the intermediate shaft bearing nuts or bearing bolts. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, once the control arm was pulled down, we pulled the hub assembly away from the half shaft, and then there were 2 bolts inside, 2 nuts inside that were mounted right up. Well, it's gone now because we already took it out. There's 2 nuts inside on this carrier right up in here, 10mm nuts. You take those off, and then the whole half shaft and intermediate shaft slides right out of the transfer case assembly here. Let's see if you get it right there. So now we've removed the exhaust pipe here. We had to actually cut the nuts off on it because it was too corroded to get out. We're getting a steady stream of fluid from the transmission that's leaking through, but that's going to be okay because we have to top that off later. We removed the bracket plate here. It's called the transfer case to engine bracket, and that had about 6 screws in it. There were a couple of them were pretty hard to get to. Oh, there's the bracket. Yes, they had 6 screws I think in it. It was a couple of them were pretty hard to get to, but all in all they weren't that bad to get out. And then we had the 4 bolts that hold the transfer case to the transmission. 3 of them are on this side. This one right here was easy. The one on the bottom side, on the back side, was pretty easy if you have the right tool, which was a very close socket on a swivel handle. Where did I put that? I wanted to show them what we used. There. This is the tool we used to get the bolt on the back side off, a 13mm, and let's see, the other one, 1, 2, 3. Oh, the 4th one was right up in the middle there, behind the exhaust manifold. So actually what we did is pop the hood open, let it down off the hoist, and reach down over the back of the engine, and it was super easy to get off. Now the only question is, will the transfer case slide sideways far enough to come out, or are we going to have to take the exhaust manifold off too? If we do, it doesn't look like it's going to be too hard. All the bolts look like we can reach them pretty easy from up top. So we're going to see how that goes, and we'll let you know. Alright, we're putting it all back together now. The total time on this was about 3.5 hours. What time is it?
Like 4.5. It's 5:35 already.
5:35?
Yeah.
I started 2.
Did you really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 3.5 hours. So if I were just about done, all we have left to do now is to slide the steering knuckle back over the half shaft and bolt the lower control arm on. Reattach the brake line bracket up here and put the wheel back on. But what we did is, I think I showed you most everything we did. First thing we had to do was remove the half shaft, which is accomplished by taking out 2 bolts that are up here on top. You see there's one right there, another one. They're actually nuts, not bolts. You take those off, then the half shaft slides right out. You really don't need a special puller tool for it. It's just like you really don't need a special puller tool to remove the steering knuckle off of the half shaft. It slides right off. There's no need for the special puller or pusher tools. Those are just extras. Alright, once we got that off, we removed the exhaust bolts. Where are they at? Here. We had to end up cutting those off. They were broke. There's 3 exhaust studs here that we had to cut off with a torch. And we replaced those with a nut and bolt. After those were off, we removed these 2 bolts here on this bracket, as well as this transmission transfer case to engine bracket here. There's like 6 bolts in that you take off. One of them is really hard to get to up behind the exhaust manifold, but you can get to it. It's, you can do it. The rest of the 5 are easy to get to. Then this whole bracket wiggles off here. Which bolt do we have to go through the engine to do? There's 4. There's only 4 bolts that hold the transfer case on. I think I talked about this already, but we're going to review it again. One of them's down here on the back side. I showed you the special tool to get to that. One of them's on the top side. Makes it easier to do that way. Some people say they've taken the exhaust manifold off to make this a little bit easier, but we were actually able to slide the whole transfer case sideways just a little bit after we removed the heat shield, and it dropped right out. We put it up the same way. There's just enough room to get it out with the exhaust manifold still in place. You really don't need to remove the exhaust manifold, but if you did want to, There's only like 7 bolts for that. They're up on top. You can reach those through the engine compartment fairly easily. All in all, it really wasn't that bad of a job at all. You're going to need to refill your transmission fluid though. Make sure you use the right kind of Dextron for a CV transmission on this. And that fills the same way as a gearbox or differential does. Basically behind this plastic splash guard here, there's a inset plug in here. You would remove that plug and fill it until it starts running back out. Same thing with the gearbox we just put in, the transfer case. It has a drain plug on the side of it here, or a fill plug here on this side. And then there's a drain plug on the other side right here. And you can bet from now on I will be changing the oil in that transfer case at least once a year. Maybe not every oil change, but at least once a year I will turn that stupid flash off. Once a year I'm going to change the oil in the transfer case. Every 20 or 30,000 miles they recommend Ford mechanics do. Ford Motor Company says it's a lifetime sealed unit. You should never have to change the oil in it. But that is really bad advice, and I hope you don't listen to them, and I hope you listen to me and change it every 20 or 30,000 miles. My helper Doug was a great help today.
Thank you.
Even though he's in a bad mood because he's cold. It is about 40 degrees out. We're in this garage of my buddy Dave, who we thank for using his garage. He does have a heater going for us, and we're just about done. We're going to wrap up putting this front axle back together, and I'll let you know, guys, know how it worked out.